Freshman. I got to use the radio. They took it away from me. This is the Own the Con. What the hell am I doing? This is the Own the Con talk. What we've tried to do with Shmoocon from the beginning is make it transparent, and we've said we do that every year regardless of how good or bad or whatever it went. We always are going to have this talk to go through our process, the procedures, what happened each year. Ken's here. Hi, Ken. Thank you. You know, the network, the speaker selection process, and even the finances. The goal of Shmoocon is kind of twofold. One, it's to engage the community in kind of an honest dialogue about what's going on in the information security space, the hacker space, whatever. And part of that is that you need to trust that we're trying to do the right thing. That even when we, you know, screw things up horribly, it's not out of malice, and it's not because we're not trying really hard. It's honestly we just make mistakes, and you know, at least you know when we make mistakes, you know, we'll try to come clean on it. We'll tell you what happened, and we'll try to correct it next year. And so through this talk, we'll tell you the good stuff and the bad stuff. Secondarily, there's a lot of other people that are either conference organizers or thinking about becoming conference organizers or running local events or whatever it is. And you have all these questions of how does this work? You know, how do you engage the hotel? How much does it really cost to rent the space? How expensive is hotel food really? It's really expensive. Like, we would double your ticket price to serve you coffee. And it's only 62 bucks a gallon for coffee. Let's just start with that kind of, yeah. So if we were to serve you lunch, seriously, we would double the price of the ticket just to cover lunch. So anyway, hopefully by getting this information out in the public domain, by having the presentation online, by having the video online, people that are looking to do something similar, for whatever it is, even if it's not security related, I mean, any people looking to throw cons, be it Anime Con or Cosplay Con or whatever it is, you know, kind of missed them this year. A little sad in my heart that there weren't little bunny rabbits hopping around. On the upshot, my wife's going to kill me. We got these cute little, and at some point you'll see this die as she runs away. See, there we go. Yes, it's telepathy. Anyway, and we reuse the slides every year. These are the same slides that Beetle used the first year, and we've just been updating since. So, real quick, Shmoocon Logistics LLC is still a legal entity at the helm. We've now been legal, well, we've always been legal, we just never had a company. You know, we've had the corporation now for a couple years. So we've been legal since we were 18. Thanks, that's scary. We have been paying estimated taxes now. We were paying taxes on everything the whole time anyway. It's just the corporation hadn't been paying taxes. So last year, because we do our accounting on an accrual basis, question mark, the con from the year before was the first one that we ended up paying taxes on it, but we paid it the year after because of the way we did accounting. They said it was legal, it's cool. But we ended up paying a boatload of tax kind of to get everything out of the way for two cons all at once last year. And that took a lot of money out of the bank account. Now we're paying estimated taxes. For those of you that run your own business, you get to pay taxes on what you think you might owe Uncle Sam, and then you reconcile the debt later. And so we've been paying estimated taxes all year, and we'll continue to pay estimated taxes until we die, because yes, it's inevitable. A lot of people ask us why we don't form a 501c3. Has anyone been through setting up a 501c3? It's not trivial, right? Like, there's more than a couple pieces of paper involved, and you have to do things every year, and you have to keep it all legal and above board, and it's and you have to stay within your mission, right? A corporation doesn't have to stay within this mission. Like, we could take a right turn and start selling stuffed unicorns next week, and it's completely legal. So we have a lot of flexibility as a not-for-profit. And we also don't have all the overhead, so we don't have to worry about maintaining our non-for-profit status every year. So for the foreseeable future, we will continue to be an LLC. That said, it's not our goal to make a metric boatload of cash on this, but we are making enough to cover our expenses, and Heidi gets a little bit for her efforts because she's, well, she will hopefully. And beyond that, it's you'll see everything in a minute. Organizational structure, we plan everything via email. The Shmoo group used to all live in 2 or 3 zip codes in Anchorage, and we've long ago spread to the wind. So most of this is planned via email. It's not long drawn IRC chats or anything like that. It might be a few IMs here and there and a phone call every once in a while. But but the vast majority of it is actually just email lists. We have the main Shmoo group list, as well as Shmoocon planning. There's a labs list and arcade list. We have a very happy mailman server. We have some of the best mail admins on the planet that run a hell of a mail server for us, so we're lucky in that regard. The planning starts now, already started for next year kind of thing. This is a long process. Various people have different parts that they are engaged in over the year. Brian Caswell handles a lot of our registration software and that kind of thing, so he's engaged earlier on, during the registration process. Ken, who leads up the labs, gets engaged about 3 days before the con when he shows up at my house. Ken's very involved for the months ahead of time, working with the lab attendees, working with the vendors and that kind of thing. Yeah, there are a lot of emails when Heidi sends him an IM and says, hey, and the answer is, I'm working on it. I know a lot of other conferences do things by IRC, or they set up big conference calls or whatever. We've never been that kind of organization. I don't think you do well anyway by planning these things by a large committee. It's important to have buy-in, I think. That's one thing that, Heidi really has to work hard on, is making sure everyone is in the loop, because we all are so spread out. But we're not big on the love-ins kind of thing. Anything else on that organizational structure? The best way to describe it would be ad hoc. Conference dates and venue. Again, this is almost completely not changed from last year. It's whatever doesn't conflict with something of import, be it something important in some Shmoo's life, they're getting married, divorced, whatever. Our kids' birthdays are in the early winter. There's Christmas to consider. There's a Super Bowl, but we tend not to consider that. We will not be considering it next year. Yeah, who cares about Valentine's Day for those that were here last year? For those that are here next year, you probably shouldn't care about the Super Bowl too much. It's increasingly difficult to plan around other security conferences because if you hadn't noticed, there's a few of them, right? There's a few security conferences out there that you could go to. How many people are going to Black Hat Federal this week, or next week, or whenever it is? Handful of folks. So Black Hat Federal, coincidentally, is like the week right after us. There's conferences all over the planet that are going on, and they're springing up all over the place. And while there are some kind of conference organizer lists that people can join and talk to other organizers and work dates, but it's to the point where it's almost unwieldy because there are so many of them going on. So everyone does the best they can. Again, no one's trying to screw anybody else. So. Okay, speaker selection. We still don't have a John or a Ben, do we? No. No. Okay. Do you want to? No. No. Okay. Okay, you'll answer questions. We had about 110 submissions. I can't remember the exact number. Some of them were tests. Some of them came in kind of borked. Initially, when people submitted their talks, I know some of the speakers couldn't upload their talks, and that was kind of strange. So, my 40%'s wrong? We had 80 last year. No. How many did we have last year? No. That's what it said on the slide that I... It's wrong. It's some number different than last year, potentially the same. This year's number is accurate-ish. We used OpenConf again for those that were here last year, and remember OpenConf, it's a really nice piece of software except for the fact that there's an inadvertent option to delete all the feedback on all the talks all at once, and my cat found it while Heidi had her laptop open and clicked the button, and that was it. The database was gone. Early on. It was early on. So now we have a backup where we back up from the main OpenConf box to another machine. So every night the database gets backed up in case the cat-induced leet haxing occurs again. There are some rough edges. OpenConf is designed as an academic conference submission thing. So it blinds out the, it makes things kind of blind. So somebody modified the code. Who hacked it up? Mike, maybe somebody in the group hacked up OpenConf. Ben, potentially. If he was here, we can blame everything on Ben since he's not here. Hacked it up so that we could see who submitted. Because when you're running an academic conference, you're kind of interested in the, is it legitimate research? Does it stand on its own regardless of who did it? That kind of thing. So you don't really know who submitted the work. From us, we're trying to kind of do something a little bit different with a con. We're trying to build a holistic view of the whole thing and say, hey, what are the types of talks that we want? We know certain speakers are known in the community, and they're reaching out to do something new. We might want to try that out. So we want to see who it is when we review. So Ben or Mike or someone hacked up the code and put that capability in. But otherwise, it was stable. It worked very well. We had a smaller speaker selection committee this year. It was more focused than in years past, which was good. We certainly, I think, in the past have had kind of a too many cooks in the kitchen. And it wasn't that we were all trying to cook. It was we all assumed someone else was making the meal. And then we all sat around hungry going, where's the food? And so this year, there was a little bit more, I think, accountability in the speaker selection process and the reviewers. And we ended up, I think, with a better kind of a deeper look into the yeah, hey, I'm working on it. There were an awful lot of, hey, we're trying to do speaker selection tomorrow, and finalize, and you'd get back, hey, I'm working on it from the speaker selection committee. But and John Callis and Ben Laurie led that up, and were kind of the chief wranglers of that kind of thing. Oh, you're not waving at me. I'm sorry. Got really excited. I thought maybe she was hiding Ben under a chair. Anything else on the speaker selection? Okay. So this is something, I think John had put this slide in last year, and it was kind of a discussion on, people say, well, why did my talk not get accepted? Or, I'm thinking about submitting, what's the best way to make sure that I get in? So first of all, something that's not here is you have to write a reasonably complete thing to submit to us, right? You can't just like throw in an idea into the speaker selection, into the CFP queue and hope that something pops out, because we got 100 and some odd, 10 submissions, and we don't have time to go track everything down. Are you done yet? Are you ready to tell us what this is all about? No, like either you tell us what it's about, you take the initiative to tell us, or don't waste our time. I think that you need to give us we need to have an understanding that you know what you're talking about. There needs to be enough words in the paper. I know it's a pain in the butt, man. Like, I hate writing outlines, but honestly, if you use like an annotated outline, I find that works really well. You got your heading, and you write a few sentences about it and some bullet points underneath about what you're going to talk about. That's a way to get across the point that, hey, I'm not a total loser and I actually know this material. We're also looking for things that are going to be entertaining. We look for things that we think are going to engage the audience, because God help us, it's tough to sit in this room for an hour at a time with some guy on stage talking about something that could have been said in 10 minutes. It doesn't really have an interesting slant on it. I hope you were throwing shmoo balls in those cases. So it's got to be something that we think is going to hook the audience, either because of its technical merit or it's an interesting or novel view, whatever. And really we don't want to see a rewash of something that's been given elsewhere. And I mean that politely, because I worked at Cigital for a while, and I worked with Gary McGraw, who I have an awful lot of respect for. He's the CTO at Cigital. And Gary is nothing if not repetitive of his message. He's talked about software security, from before it was cool to when after the sun might have set a little bit. He is on software security, on message all the time. His talk is boom, boom, boom. If you've heard Gary talk once, you probably heard the same talk he's given 100 times, which frankly gets his point across and is needed with that industry, right? Because not everyone gets software security, and Gary's got his thing and he's trying to get that out there, and that's fantastic. I have a lot of respect in places where you need to send that message repeatedly for people to get it. That's not what we're about here. Right? We're trying to get new and novel things out there, and some of them are going to float, and some of them are going to sink. But what we want a few talks that just fall on their face. Not on purpose, but we want some things to not work out the way the speaker intended or whatever, because that means we're a little bit off the edge, right? We're trying something new, and we want to hear back from the attendees that happened. If every talk that was here this weekend was a raging success, we've probably done something wrong. I think we were probably too conservative in the selection process. New speakers. What? Oh, and we also want new speakers. That's something we've always tried to push for, is we want people that haven't spoken before. People, if you have questions, come to us, and we're happy to answer them and help you organize your thoughts, organize your idea. Just don't throw it into the queue and hope we're going to help you. But if you ask us for help, we will try to help you. That's one of the goals of the selection committee, is to actually engage the speakers and help them when they need help. Yeah, 4 or 5 new speakers who've never spoken in the con before, and from what I've heard, they did very well. So, anything else in the speaker selection? Sales. How many people participated in the round 2.5? There you go. How many people did Hadi or I email personally after round 2? Yeah, all right, good times, good times. So we updated our cart a couple of times. So for those that weren't aware, round 2 of the sales process, it turns out people want to come to the conference. Shocker, yeah, right. I think every year we kind of underestimate how many people are really going to try to come to the conference. I remember the first year that we had this staged ticket thing, and people complained that they were online at midnight the day the tickets were supposed to go on sale. And we realized we didn't actually specify a time. It was going to be whenever the hell we rolled out of bed and we're going to turn it on, you know? And they're like, people are like, I stayed up until midnight East Coast, Central, Mountain, and Pacific, and it never came online. So I went to bed and I woke up every 55 minutes to check and see if they were there. And I'm like, dude, we're going to do it like 10:52, you know? You're going to be screwed. So now we set times, and so now we've got this server that lives in Beltsville, and then this bulldozer of people trying to buy tickets all at once. And they hit together at about 10 minutes to noon, and everyone just starts refreshing. So first of all, our cart over the years has evolved. It's pretty robust. I mean, we don't need a fancy shopping cart. We need something that sells barcodes for all intents and purposes, gives us the ability to do direct sales at those noon sales times, gives us the ability to say, oh, hey, vendor, I need to give you a code so you can come buy a ticket or something like that. We need to be able to, on the fly, create barcodes if they haven't been created. How many people had to recreate their barcode because they lost it or whatever? A couple people. I mean, it's just real easy. You can print out a receipt from the cart, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's very robust in that respect, and it functionally fulfills our needs. From a performance perspective, it's tough because even when you are load testing a web app, it's hard to replicate 1,000 different users all coming from different places, all in different parts of the cart, all trying to do different things, all with different user agents and all kinds of other things. So as much as we tested it, round 2, first of all, the server just got crushed. If that wasn't abundantly obvious by like the 5-minute response time on the web page loads. And what was really the nail in the coffin on that is we inadvertently didn't comment out the code, or comment in the or uncomment the code that was supposed to actually clear the credit card processing. Yeah, you could have entered in like, pixie dust as your credit card number, and it would have been, sure, absolutely, I've charged that $175, here's your barcode. Which was probably a blessing in disguise because honestly, because of the load on the server, the state of everyone's process through the cart was just a disaster. People were clicking buy like 100,000 times, and so people probably would have had their credit cards torn up by the credit card company. Like, you bought 5,000 Shmoocon tickets, that's some good work. You just assumed the national debt and bought Citibank. Don't underestimate people's desire to click the submit button more than once. Yeah, some guy did it 13 times. It was pretty good. Other people have done it when it failed for other reasons and continued to try over and over. Not that they were waiting, but it failed once, and so they figured they'd fail another 13 times. The interesting things happen, like when we go to auth a credit card, we try to get 50 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever it is from your bank, and they either tell us yes or no. And if they tell us no, we say, sorry, we're not selling you a ticket. If we tell yes, then later on that night, there's an automatic process with our bank that'll go batch that all up and grab the money from the other banks and drop it into our bank account. If it's denied, it still puts a hold on that money on your bank, right? Even though it was denied for some reason. So we had people trying, literally 10, 15 times, and they would have 15 discrete transactions, each at $175 or whatever, locked in their account. And there's nothing we can do about it. Merchants can't control that. It's not our bank. I can't call up Bank of America and say, hey, on this account number, can you release those funds? And while you're at it, can you wire me like $10 million? It would have the same response. So, that's a real challenge. So anyway, what we did is we, from a performance perspective, we ported it to mod Perl. The initial cart was just written in Perl, and it functionally served our needs, but obviously from a performance perspective, it's instantiated in Perl every time somebody hits a web page. This is a 2-generation old Xeon box with slower disk, and it just didn't like that at all. So it's running mod Perl, which is tough. I mean, porting from Perl to mod Perl is not straightforward, but Brian Caswell did the I forget the term, yeoman's job. What's that guy in the boat? Guy in the front of the boat does all the work? Yeoman? All right, sweet. I actually got it right for once. Anyway, he put in the effort. He poured it to Mod Pearl. We ran around 2.7 or 2.5 or 2.1, whatever you want to call it, as a kind of a trial. It was only a few hundred tickets, but it worked pretty well. And then we did round 3, and that was it. So we're glad. Woo! We sold out quickly, but a little slower than before. And by slower, I mean it took 2 or 3 hours to sell 500 tickets instead of, you know, a minute or two. There was, I think, still some weird state issues we need to track down and figure out what was going on, but there's still obviously a lot of demand. The challenge, flat fee versus the tiered model, right? What? So, well, first of all, people ask about the tiered model all the time. Do I get more for 175 than I get for 100? No. Right? This is the Burning Man model of you get what you think it's, or you pay what you think it's worth. And it was great the first year when nobody knew who the hell we were, or actually year 2, because we were flat the first year, right? Kind of, sort of. First year was kind of random. It was how much we liked you. But it's turned into, you know, buy whatever the hell is in the shopping cart when I click submit. Which seems kind of strange. So show of hands, how many people would rather see a flat fee, single price structure than a tiered pricing structure? For those hands that didn't go up, what do you like about the tiered model besides the fact it's like going to Atlantic City? The challenge, really.
Some people can pay more.
So some people can pay more, and that, you know, that's a tough one because there are lots of corporate folks who are like, I expense this, and I expense you know, $4,000 when I go to Black Hat. I could easily expense $300, $400, $500 to come to Shmoocon. It's cool, you know. And the fact of the matter is, we're not actually, you know, you'll see in a moment, you know, generating cash to run this isn't all that complicated. You know, we can generate money and keep this going. The tiered model, the flat model for us, I think it'd probably keep us saner, right? Because we have to implement this crazy queuing mechanism in the code to like keep track of what tickets are available where and who goes to what pricing structure and make sure everyone gets the tickets they're supposed to buy and all this kind of stuff. It's hard. I mean, it's a lot of difficult stuff. I mean, where do you think we're going to end up? Put them all on eBay. That sounds bad. I was thinking about just buying Live Nation. Maybe we could avoid some antitrust issues that Ticketmaster is about to have. I don't know. I mean, thoughts?
I have some.
Would you like to say them? Should keep them to herself. But I thought you wanted to say things, dear. No, the hearts went away. See, they're crying. Yeah, they're back. Woo! She loves me again. It's because I'm not talking to her.
This is so much fun.
Is there anything else we want to say about sales? No. Okay. But seriously, we do appreciate everyone sticking through with us and dealing with the rough spot that is a sales process. And again, it's still not perfect, but we're still working our butts off to do it. If we go to an outsourced ticket model, you know, where we have, you know, someone else has the cart and you rent them or whatever, and they basically do all the work for you, they take a cut. Okay, we already got Uncle Sam taking a cut, and we already got the credit card processor taking a cut, and those guys would take a cut too, which starts to become a non-trivial amount of money that you would pay us to run this con that just goes and we don't have access to. And this is one thing as tech geeks we feel we can probably tackle and save ourselves anywhere between 2 and 5% of the ticket cost for us to do this ourselves. You know, maybe that'll change in future years and we'll get sick of the effort and whatever, but right now this allows us to run a better con as long as you're willing to put up with us kind of feeling our way through the dark at times. Maybe next year we'll plan like a, I don't know, November 15th just for fun fake ticket sales process, and you can all come at noon and beat the living crap out of the, they went away, she got really scared, and try to buy tickets and own the box and all that good stuff. These aren't the slides that you sent me.
No, those aren't the slides that I sent you. Can you go get my computer?
Disco. You didn't send them to me, did you?
You sent it to you from Monday.
Fail, yes. This was the extra sexy ticket sales with the X's. No. If you could dance for a few seconds. Ken, why don't you come up and talk about the network while I'm sorting this out? Because I don't think you got me slides either in time. Okay, no. Ken's going to talk about the network while I sort out where the hell these went. This is Ken.
So a couple of years ago, Bruce had this great idea that we should open up the network build-out process to the conference attendees and also invite vendors and kind of do one 1 day or day and a half interoperability, trial by fire, kind of get everything done all at once. And so we ended up, is this the third year?
Third year.
So the third year that we've done it, and so basically what happens is that when you buy a ticket, you have the option of signing up for the network build out, and we charge $50 for it, primarily because we have to pay the hotel for the space to have people here a day early. And we get about 30 people, and we go through the whole process of building up the network. We have vendors that bring gear. We have, we bring some of our own gear. And we set firewalls, DNS servers, all that stuff. And so it gives people a chance to kind of work with a bunch of really talented folks and kind of be in a production environment and work with a lot of tools that you might not normally get a chance to work with. And that's basically about it. What do you want to?
How did it go?
There you go. That's exactly the question.
It went really well. I think all right, so after 3 years, we kind of, I didn't stay up for 48 hours this year, so as far as that goes, I think it went fairly well. We had the network up and running the first day. We've run into, a few issues here and there. The hotel is actually, one of the big things is that the hotel is used to working with us now. Initially convincing the hotel that, they should let us into their IDFs and install all of our own gear and allow, get access to all their infrastructure was tough, but now they trust us. And, we're actually, from what they told us, the lowest impact conference that they have with IT needs. Some other interesting...
Yeah. Good job, Ken.
And so generally we end up having, we have a group of about 5 or 6 staff people that kind of run up. We break it up into different groups, so we'll have like a firewall group, switch group, DNS server group, and then we break that up with the staff members, and they have a group of people that work with them. And so they all focus on one area, and so everyone kind of has to interact and talk to each other and kind of figure all that stuff out. And then every year we try and do, a couple new things or introduce some new stuff. One thing that we actually had this year that was not planned, but someone ended up setting up for us, is that we actually routed IPv6 over the wireless network. So we actually had people watching porn over IPv6 on the Wi-Fi. I guess I'm kind of burnt out, so I'll just say if you have any questions about the network, go ahead and ask them.
How much bandwidth and what percentage of people are using the secure wireless versus not secure?
The bandwidth we have between 15 to 20 megabits from the hotel. I don't actually have the numbers for that. I think last year it was a really small fraction. I want to say 10% or something like that.
Do you take good notes on the free radius WPA2 setup or the IPv6 over wireless that you want to share?
On the WPA radius stuff, that was actually Dragorn who set up most of that. Basically, so how many people here know how the WPA thing works? All right, so not too many. So basically what happens is that you go to an SSL website called labs.shmoocon.net, and then you go through a sign-up process, create a radius account. There's a capture there to make sure that you're at least somewhat human, and then you use that radius account along with the cert for the radius server, and then you now have a WPA wireless connection. And so basically the idea was to kind of give people a mild increase in security. I mean, is it perfect? No, but it basically allows, it gives you a little bit of a warmer feeling that you're not getting completely owned. It's another layer of protection, but you definitely shouldn't check your bank account over it or anything like that. In terms of notes, I could talk to Dragorn and see if he wants to maybe put up some notes about how he actually set that up. Really, the main glue there, I mean, the radius stuff is pretty standard. The main glue is really the web app that he wrote to do the account creation and the capture. I do not know anything about that. I mean, I guarantee you that there's probably like a gajillion access points that get set up over the course of the conference. It's kind of hard to keep track of them. The first year we actually had people, we thought that we'd actually try and take an active approach to people screwing with the wireless network. So we actually had people with like yellow jackets and PDAs with antennas and spectrum analyzers, and we would monitor the network. And then when when we saw an attack, we'd send someone into the room to kind of track the person down. And that takes a lot of time. And the only time that we actually ever caught somebody doing it was a presenter that was demonstrating a wireless attack. Otherwise, usually what would happen is that we would see an attack going on. You'd run into the room, you see some like giant guy with an antenna, laptop gets shut, and then the attack's over.
All right, no more questions. But that was funny, dude, when they tracked down the that guy, because I remember like people were busting ass to get into this room because whatever the hell he was doing was really messing with the network, and like they all walked in and looked at the screen and were like, oh shit. Anyway, hey, look, there's real numbers this time. So we had almost 1,300 people check in, which isn't, how close to that was all the tickets? I mean, that was still short. About 80 short, which is actually a pretty big number. Every year I'm always kind of surprised how many people buy tickets and don't show up, given the fact that you have to, how many people have an extra ticket here that they ended up not, 1, 2, 3, I mean, life happens, right? You know, and I think that kind of, you know, maybe there's a way to make it kind of a last-minute clearinghouse to help.
That's at the end of the first quarter.
At the end of the first quarter? Oh, you must be from a real company, sir. That'd be the only time Al ever gets called sir. We had about 56 speakers, 52 staff. I love the approximate. It's approximately 52. It might have been 52.6. It's really hard to say. 65 West Point cadets, give or take, and other, you know, people and that kind of thing. So, you know, in total, we had about 1,565 people in attendance, which is more than last year. For whoever's in the audience that always corrects these numbers, are you here, sir? The last couple of years, there was somebody that had like the previous 2 year slides and was like, no, 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 that's not right. And it was like, shit. Because last year, I think we were actually down a few people in attendance from the prior year, and this dude like totally called me out. I was totally impressed. And he even emailed me and said he was going to be here and give me crap, but it was. Anyway, it's not true. It's not true. It's what our slide said, but I don't think it was true. Anyway, there's 400 people more than last year, which is certainly growth, right? We went from 1,100 and change to 1,500 and change, so we definitely got bigger. I think the space, you know, how are the rooms as far as size, capacity? Bring It On's too small. Too far away. Has anyone been down to Bring It On today? Is that room still too small? Yeah. How about these rooms when yesterday? They seemed pretty full. They were too full. All right.
It helps when they have the back doors, not just side doors.
Oh, to get in and out of the back doors in the side, which is kind of tough on that room because the back doors are the access hallways for the hotel. So that doesn't work. Let's hear it for the back hallways of the hotel. There's like a whole separate infrastructure that if you've never been in, you walk around, you're like, there's like a second hotel here. Holy crap. Anyway, so that's you know, something we're going to have to take into consideration. Again, if you had feedback.shmoocon.org. What? Parking. Oh.
That's a union issue.
Yeah. Parking's kind of what parking is. We negotiated a deal the year before and got it. We tried to negotiate a deal again this year and we didn't get it. You know, working with the hotel is complicated, right? Like there's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of things that change year over year. They were a little more concerned about outside liquor this year than they were in years past, things like that. And it's unfortunate, and it's certainly something, again, we want to hear from you guys about how many people think it was exorbitant on parking, because we're going to take that in consideration next year when we're negotiating with a hotel or maybe looking at other places. Coop.
Park on the street, get a $30 ticket on Friday, and leave your car there all weekend. It's the cheapest way to do it. That's what I find.
No, that was a problem in Seattle, right? Until a few years ago, it was cheaper to get a parking ticket in Seattle than to get space to park for the day at any given lot where you worked, and so people would just park in the street and get tickets every day. Seriously, and so they had to increase the price of a parking ticket in Seattle so that people wouldn't just be parking in the streets. So. Anyway, we'll get to the hotel here in a minute. I want to make sure that part of this is we need to capture things on tape so people can watch it. So again, if we have questions or concerns, you can ping us later or afterwards or whatever. So last year in the bank, when everything was said and done and we paid the, not back taxes, but the big lump sum of tax that we owed, we had about 80K in the bank. We got 46,000 in sponsorships. It was a good year for sponsors. We were up about 15%, 20%, something like that. About the same. We were 40-something last year, 41 or something, which is not nearly 20%. Ticket sales were $190,000 this year. If you've noticed, we moved the ticket prices up $25 for the lower two. It used to be 75 and 150, and now it's 100 and 175. And we did that because we knew we'd have some more expenses this year. And also we sold a lot more tickets than we sold last year, so we had a lot more in ticket revenue. So in total, we had 235,000 in funds that we generated. Yeah, this is totally, please keep in mind, this is absolutely back in the napkin, like Heidi and I sitting on the couch a couple hours ago ripping this all together, so don't hold me to it, my accountant, if you're watching. Hotel space, last year we spent about 35K, this year it's going to be about 40K. We don't know until the end, the hotel, like we give them a bunch of money. It's like Uncle Sam, actually. You give them a bunch of money, and then they give you a bill, and if you owe more, you pay them. If you owe less, they give you money back. One thing that we do is for all the volunteers, the staff volunteers, we cover 1 day of their hotel stay here, so that gets added onto the master account, so that's a chunk of the 40K. And overall, the price from the hotel was a little higher this year. I think the recession's hitting everyone. Marriott's building a big facility down the other side of town, and I think that's probably putting a drain on them all over the place, so they're having to compensate. Swag was about 30K, and that includes badges, bags, all the stuff. Did you guys think of the bags this year? There's some good stuff in there this year. I was really impressed with what the sponsors ponied up and everything. It was really good, and it lived in my basement for a long period of time, so I'm happy it's gone. About $2,000 in prizes with lots more donated. I'll get into the equipment costs. We had some decent equipment costs this year. $27,000 for that party last night. I hope you all enjoyed it. The people that are applauding weren't really there because the people that were there are still unconscious. Speaker honorariums, the speakers do get an honorarium to the tune of $200. Important note, if you give anyone more than $600, you have to file a something or other. W-9, yeah, so if you're gonna do this, keep it under $600. Yeah, after that, it doesn't make any difference. So at $200, they get it in cash and they can go spend it any way they want. The hotel lobby bar, yeah, it probably goes right to the Marriott. $2,000 in miscellaneous. We have event insurance again for the course of the event. $1,000. We don't serve liquor. We, as a conference, don't serve liquor. The hotel serves it. The bar serves it. They're all covered. And we don't swim either. And both of those things will make your insurance costs very high. If we ever have to have a swimming party, we'll have to charge more to cover the insurance. Pool 2, anyone? Going badly. Shmoocon, we sponsor other cons at 4,000-ish. We paid about $25,000 total in quarterly estimated tax. So this year's total money out was about $150K, which is up from $93K. But keep in mind, $24,000 of that is estimated taxes that we weren't paying in the past. So if you look at the actual expense of running the con, not including Uncle Sam, we're up about $30K from before. Some of that was the hotel, some of it was swag, some of it was equipment, and we were a little higher on the party, I think, too, this year, right?
Yeah.
By $5,000 or something? $7,000. Certainly, it was a bigger venue. I mean, every year we always seem to kind of bump up against the walls of everywhere we go. And from what I understand, I was home with a sick kid last night, so I didn't see, but I gathered it was a little bit more spacious. People had more than 1 square foot to stand in. Nods. Okay, good. So there is money left over, 130K-ish, of which Uncle Sam will knock that down below 100, and we'll be about where we stand. We pay tax on the assets that we have as a corporation in Maryland, so the computers and office equipment, that kind of thing, are property according to Maryland law and get taxed appropriately. So the more gear we buy, that we don't, because you only pay taxes on the money that's left over after your expenses, except when you bought hardware, and then you have to pay tax on the hardware anyway. Which is really goddamn annoying. So it's actually better to buy more beer than it is to buy servers, turns out. Yeah. Woohoo indeed.
Ticket sales round 2, anybody?
Yeah. Hey, look, we saw Ken already. Registration, it's amazing. No, I'm not talking about ticket sales. I'm talking about registration. Very smoothly. The registration system, the barcodes, just beep, beep, beep. We did 314 people in the first 30 minutes. That's 10 a minute, or 1 every 6 seconds. That's not bad. Part of it is we don't care who you are, right? You don't get a fancy little thing with your name on it and I have to find it in a little box and give it to you. We just don't give a shit, right? Here's a bag, get the hell out. And because we do it that way, we're able to turn very quickly. So the registration staff has got this down to a science. We know how to stuff bags effectively. We get that done the night before. We know how to stage it all, keep the registration people fed with bags, with food, whatever they need, and they just keep handing it to you. So, people have a pretty positive impression about at least getting in the door and all that. Yeah?
Freezing.
Oh, she's freezing. Okay. I take it for granted. Like, I swear to God, like every year I come here and it's amazing that Friday afternoon, it just works, And I forget that I go to other conferences and I wait in interminable lines sometimes and it takes a long time. When I'm paying them $2,000, like I expect them to register me in my room, right? Like I should just show up, on my bed, there's a chocolate and my badge. But it's absolutely fantastic. I got nothing but respect for the whole team that puts that all together. Security, freshman's been waiting the whole time. He probably left already, or is he here still? He's just there he is. Hey, he's making an entrance even. Dun 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 dun. Dun. Did you know I was talking about you, or you're literally coming up here to do something?
No, grab an idea, please.
Oh, this is. Yeah. Security actually not only keeps everyone safe and secure and all that good stuff, but they also.
There are no seats down there.
Okay. We get all cozy and see if my heart's light up when I get close to you. But they also, a lot of the staff kind of take care of the care and feeding of everyone else. We get guys who, are stuck in the lab or they're stuck behind registration and they need something from somewhere in the hotel. And the security staff is just fantastic of, radioing around, getting us what we need, keeping kind of the gears of the machine turning without having to, interrupt what you're doing. So do you want to say anything about security and how it all went?
It went great.
Sweet.
Everybody's been fantastic. You tell people to stay out of doorways and make a formal line. It's great.
Form a line. It's the funniest thing to me. So one thing that we do here is we don't delineate our security staff from the rest of the staff here, and I think it makes them, hopefully, everyone more approachable, because you don't feel like you're walking up to some security guy or you're walking up to some other staff member. You just walk up to a blue shirt. Most people wear the blue shirts the first 2 days, and by Sunday they're like, to hell with that, or whatever color it is. They're like, I've been wearing the same shirt for 2 days, maybe even 2 different shirts, but I look the same as I did the last 2, and we're hackers, we got to look elite, so we put on something different for Sunday. We still rent our radios from a logistics perspective. Still haven't really ponied up to buy our own. It's $400. We get radios in everybody's ear that needs them for the weekend. They drop ship them here or to our house or something here, and they come get them. It's a piece of cake, right? We don't have to worry about it. I don't have to pay tax in Maryland on it. It's great. Anything else? No. Security again goes really well. So I think it's something we take for granted that we have this here and there's resources here to help us out. Gears and other stuff. So we did buy a fair bit of gear this year. We bought 2 dual proc quad core Xeons with how much memory and quick disk and all that kind of stuff from Dell. Those, we got them on sale. They're like $1,500 a piece or something. But we got them and they have hardware virtualization support. So did you guys end up doing a lot of VM work this year?
Yeah, we use the Linux kernel virtual machine, which uses
Okay, so they use the Linux kernel hardware.
DNS servers, like some of the monitoring stuff was all. Not everything was virtualized, but a lot.
But the lightweight servers were virtualized this year and ran on those 2 big pieces of iron. So, that's great. I think that gives us a good foundation for years in the future. Like I said, we've had some kind of older Xeon boxes that were long in the tooth. We bought 2 monitors for the kiosk, and then I ponied up my little tiny Vista box from home, which promptly failed and had a horrid death right there in front of everyone with like a Vista has died error on the fancy monitors that we had. We bought 2 projectors. Because these rooms are bigger, we needed 2 screens in each room, and we didn't have quite enough because we also have projectors in other places that we needed to use them. We got big bright ones, man, 3,300 lumens. Like, they will blind you at a distance. Everyone okay with the projectors this year? No issues. Screen size okay, because we get to choose screen size from the hotel. I think all they do is pull the curtain back a little farther, makes it bigger, and they charge us $1,000 more. But these are okay. These rooms aren't very big this way, so you don't have, I don't think, a lot of problems seeing the screens. Yo.
It would be awesome if the screens were higher. When you're sitting in the back of the room, the text at the bottom of every presentation gets really hard to read.
Gets hard to read in the back and the bottom. It's certainly something we could talk to the hotel about and see if we can get them bumped up in the air. There may be just a limitation, like these are what they have, but we can certainly address it with them. And maybe if anyone from any rural area like I grew up that has cinder blocks in their front yard, you just bring a few and could prop them up. Okay. And we, for the Hacker Arcade, AMD donated a bunch of gear, but we still needed some stuff to wrap around it, so we got some cases of memory and disks, and we're hoping to be able to, and 12 monitors, super cheap, and we're hoping to be able to, if people are in the local area and know of security-specific projects that have temporary need for use of hardware, you know, we're happy to kind of maybe work a loaner program or something like that. So if you're in the DC area and you know some local hacker types are doing something that need big iron, we might be able to help. Bob!
Per day.
Yeah, so we buy projectors because it's almost the same price to rent them. And it's amazing, like other conferences when they're first getting going, projectors is like the hardest thing to get your hands on. It's amazing how many other small conferences I see that are like borrowing and stealing projectors to use them because they don't want to pay the hotel fee. But man, projectors are getting cheap. Like you can get, you know, reasonably decent ones for $500, and these 3300 lumen ones we got for like under $1,000, like $800 on Amazon or something. And they good resolution and the whole deal. I mean, decent boxes, man. So they're not as bad as they used to be as far as renting them, or as far as buying them. Contest. One thing that we did this year with the sponsors. I'll get into it in a second, but I'll say it now. We tried to push the sponsors to do something different, and a lot of the sponsors did contests, and overall I think it went well. How many people participated in at least one contest of some form, variety, shape? Okay, reasonable number of folks. Do you want to see more contests, more diverse contests? I mean, you know, the way I see the contest thing, I mean, there's people that come here and just, they want the talks, and there's people that come here to do the contest and all that kind of cool stuff, and they're not necessarily, there's not a big overlap in the Venn diagram at times. So I think the people that do the contest love the contest, and the people that don't are like, oh, there's something on my badge that's not a moose? Like, oh, I didn't notice that. You know, maybe that's Morse code, who cares? I do, I had to put it all on all the different badges. Room with the moose. Yeah, someone's been decoding, I see. Do you have the other 7? Go! I'm giving hints at the last minute because I don't think anyone solved it. Moosey Fate. Oh, God, I love Invader Zim. Anyway, vendors and sponsors here really quick. We pushed the sponsor to do something different, and we did it for 2 reasons. One, what? Oh, including an X number of lab sponsors. We didn't fix that one. I think, count them, Ken, count them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. There were 8 lab sponsors. Sweet. We put them on the badges. Yay, Ken can count to 8. Good job, Ken. The sponsors, we want them to, 1, become engaged with you so that you get something out of the fact that there are people in the hallway, because we don't want to be a trade show. We just don't want them showing up and just trying to get you to put your name in their database so they can harass you or whatever. We want you to get something out of the fact that we have vendors here. But secondarily, the vendors that engage the audience, especially at this conference and other kind of hacker-oriented, security-oriented cons, that when they engage them in a more interactive and unique fashion, they get a lot more out of it, right? If they're here for recruiting or they're here for whatever purpose, you know, this is not the kind of place where you're going to come with your fancy booth and throw it up and people are going to be like, ooh, shiny, and they're going to come walking at it, right? It's going to be like, oh, check out this remote control thing that we made out of like spare Honda parts and like your mom, and that's going to get people's attention. So, it's really, I'm tired. I mean, frankly, it seemed like there was a lot of energy in the hallways this year, more so than I'd seen in the past. It might have been because we were just more crowded and people were trying to beat the hell out of each other. But honestly, it seemed to really be, you know, people were engaged in what the vendors were doing. Good experience with the vendors this year? Yeah, okay, good. A couple hand claps. Wow. So finally, feedback. Just to preface this, we want your feedback in any way, shape, or form. You can deliver it to us. Ideally, you'll go to the website. yeah, the entire world it knows Heidi's email address. She gets a lot of direct email. If you can actually funnel it to like feedback@shmoocon.org, it helps us track it better. Or you go to the website, feedback.shmoocon.org, and enter in feedback on talks, feedback on the con overall, whatever. If you want to have a personal conversation with us, and we don't even have time today, I'm sure we can arrange a phone call later or something. I mean, we really do this for the benefit of the attendees and the community at large. It's not just again, from the speaker selection process and everything we do here, we try to benefit not just the 1,500 people that show up, but we kind of feel there's a bigger deal going on. There's a larger calling here, and we're trying to help the broader security community. So if there are ways you think that we could run Shmoocon that would be better for the attendees, that would be better for the community at large, please let us know. We take it seriously, and it's something that, again, even if we don't get it right the first time, we're going to keep working on it and trying to do it right for you guys. So. Try feedback through a phone. Well, if you have an iPhone, aka God's phone, I'm a fanboy. You can use a mobile browser, but as far as you mean like texting the feedback?
This was built literally in the last 2 weeks before.
It works on the iPhone, yeah, there you go. I don't know that Palm has web capability, do they? Do they even have color? Oh, come on, not that many people own Palms that could boo about that. He's the only Palm owner in the room. There's only 3 of them. You want to throw your Palm at me, sir? We get it down to 2.
It won't break.
It won't break. Yeah, no shit. What was it?
Branson's sitting right there, but he has no voice.
Oh, Branson. Oh, yeah, Branson lost his voice in an unfortunate accident. He'd been writing the feedback site, and it's something. If you do have cases where you were using a mobile device, I know you were sensitive to that. I know it's something you're trying to gun for, is having it work on multiple platforms, and maybe even have a mobile site. But we didn't have a mobile specific site, did we? Not yet. Next time. But if you did have kind of functionality or whatever issues with it, let us know that too, potentially from a different browser. So that we can kind of gear up for that. Because, I mean, Branson wrote that at the last minute and did an absolutely fantastic job wrangling that together. So, yay, go Branson. So we got to wrap this up because what they're going to do is bust down this wall and turn this back into a big room again. But I can't underscore, overstate whatever, how much work goes into this conference on all sides of the table. From you guys showing up and putting up with all the strangeness about coming to Shmoocon and flying to DC and staying at a place that decidedly is more expensive than a Motel 6, and the vendors and all the planning they have to do and whatever, and the Shmoocon volunteers and the area leads and everything and all the work that they put in. I mean, it is a community effort. Everybody has to come here and make this work, and every year it amazes me how well it comes together. I think that this year, I mean, I was floored. Like, it went, from our perspective, it went fantastically, It doesn't mean it was perfect. It doesn't mean we're not going to try to change things next year. We may even try to just totally screw with things next year just to see what happens, But, overall, good experience from this. All right. Ken has something he would like to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you have more interest in finding out about the network and the labs, I actually did a presentation at DC BSD-Con, which is going on Thursday and Friday, and they're going to put all the talks online next week, so you can get some more info there.
And really quick, if you want to buy, I'm drooling. If you want to buy raffle tickets, it's the last chance to do so. So while we're breaking down the room, you got some time to go eat, throw $5, $10, $5 each. Go try to win yourself something cool. And other than that, are we good? We good? We're good. Any other volunteers in the room? We're square? All right. Thank you, guys.